today?
Yes.
All right. We're going to talk a little bit about moments of real truth. Not just moments of truth, but moments of real truth. But show of hands, how many of you know what the Moments of Truth program actually is? How many of you have clubs that have actually done the Moments of Truth exercises in your club within the last year or two? I like that. Oh, a tiny bit. Oh,
You get the two in there. We're good.
All right. I want to talk a little bit about how the clubs measure up within the Moments of Truth, not just necessarily to the Toastmasters plan, but how are you doing in terms of meeting your potential, what your club can become. Because let's face it, every club has a different culture, every club has a different experience, and every club is going to provide a little bit something different for every member. And is that right or wrong? It's right, isn't it? Because if you only had one type of club that was out there, why would we ever need more than one club? The reason why our clubs exist isn't just necessarily to provide people with more opportunities, it's because the reason why we join Toastmasters and we stay with Toastmasters isn't because of the program, or it's because of the people that are in the seats beside us.
Yeah.
It's relationships, isn't it?
Yes.
It is all about relationships. So what can exist and work well within one club can fail miserably at another club. You can't copy A to B and expect it to necessarily work. Sometimes you're just going to get a blank screen. You're never going to get the same experience. I want to talk a little bit about what that means for every club. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Sound good?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sound good?
Woohoo!
All right, very good. I took that from you, right? All right, so first, let's address the elephant in the room. Who is this dude standing up there, and why have I never seen him before? My name is Scott Brown, and I just moved to Fort Wayne, Indiana from Orlando, Florida. Yes, that was on purpose. My wife got promoted. She works for Vera Bradley, and she had been a district manager for Vera for the past couple of years. She got promoted when her boss left and became a director at Vera. So we ended up in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Outstanding. Now, I'd like to say that this is a unique situation that we haven't moved much before, but if I did, I would be lying to you. Because when I came to Fort Wayne, Indiana, it was my 42nd move. I am not in the military. I may or may not be in witness protection. And if there's any police in here, I'm not on the lam. I've just moved a lot from my job and from a tumultuous childhood. I've moved a lot. I'm a professional boxer. Not the kind you get in the ring, the kind that loves the smell of cardboard in the street. So I have made a career out of different experiences. And in the past 20 years, once we left Pittsburgh, which is where I'm from, I moved to Florida. I have moved almost 20 times just in the last 20 years. We've moved to Orlando 3 times, we lived in California, and now we're in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And there's one thing that I've learned throughout my Toastmasters journey is that when you walk into a Toastmasters club, I've been in Toastmasters District 84, in District 47, and now District 11. And there's a shared camaraderie within everybody within Toastmasters. That we're all here for kind of the same reason, aren't we? We want to get better. At some point in our lives, we all looked at ourselves and said, I know where I am now, but I want to get from where I am now to where I'm supposed to be in the future. And we took that step, bridged that gap, and joined the group that can help us get there. That's why we're here, right? So I may not have this breadth of experience within Fort Wayne, but I certainly have 7 years of Toastmasters experience in about 19 different clubs that I've been a member of, not just that I've visited. So I have a breadth of experience, and I just want to kind of share some observations, and maybe we can figure out some things to how do we make Toastmasters here a more vibrant community. Sound like a plan for us?
Yeah.
Yeah? This is my home club. We're the Articulators in Altamont Springs, Florida. And let me ask you a question. How many of you know why your club exists? How many of you have a specific brand that you know our club exists for this particular reason? Why? So here's the thing with the Articulators. When I joined in 2012, the Articulators was like every other club in Orlando, every other club in Toastmasters. They got together every week. They had breakfast because they were a morning club. They gave some speeches. They talked about leadership, and they went upon their way. There wasn't a why. I got voluntold in the first couple of months that I was there that you need need to enter the evaluation contest. You're pretty good. So I did, and I won the club contest. Then I won the area contest. Then I won the division contest.
Wow.
And I don't know how I did it. I had no idea what I was doing. They kept handing me trophies telling me to go compete somewhere else, so I did. And I came in third in district. I placed third in district in evaluations in November after I joined in May. And I kind of looked at that experience, and we started to look at the evaluation, and we realized, what's the one thing that Toastmasters does that no other group does out there? We provide structured feedback so that you get to make new mistakes. Because it gets boring making the same mistakes every day, doesn't it? There's this whole plethora of new mistakes out there just waiting to be explored. So why do we make the same ones? Let's try to make some new ones. And do it in an environment that allows us to fail forward and succeed just by trying something different in the pursuit of growth. We became the club of evaluations. Our mission was to learn while having fun and grow to become who you're supposed to be. That's who we became. And over the course of the years, through evaluations, after I went to South Florida, Jeremy made his way all the way to come in second in district in international speech. I came in second 2 times in table topics. I came in second 2 more times in evaluations. I came in third once in international speech, and I won the district title in evaluations last year. And I didn't just win the evaluation title last year. Jeremy was my best friend in Toastmasters, the one that was my first greeter. And Jeremy is right here. He was the one, when I walked in the first day, he said, I see something special in you that I want to help bring out. And I knew that he was struggling to find his voice. So we decided, sitting on the bench in front of Denny's one day, that we were going to invest in each other. I was going to go join a club in a different division so that we could compete and get to the district finals together. And that we were going to help each other along the way, so that as I took a step forward, I could take him. As he took a step forward, he could take me. And it wasn't just a solo endeavor, it was a team sport. When I was sitting at the finals that day, after they gave the speech, who do you think was sitting directly beside me competing for Division D? Jeremy. When they called the second place winner, and they said the second place winner of the 2017 evaluation contest, Jeremy Udell. He leapt higher than any white man has ever jumped. Ran to the front of the stage, and I knew in that point, not only did I know in my mind that I had won, but that we had accomplished what we wanted to do by investing in each other. We had a purpose and a mission and a goal, and we had met it. And when they called my name to win, I didn't see a trophy. What do you think I saw sitting on that stage?
Your friend Jeremy.
Jeremy. I walked right past the district director with his hand extended. I went right past him and hugged Jeremy. And there's a video of him going. And I went over and hugged Jeremy because it was the greatest thing we had ever done. We did it together. That's who we were as a club. A vibrant club invested in the growth of each other. So how many of you want to have an experience within your clubs that you know why you exist? And that you have a specific reason every week, not just to show up with your friends, but you know what you want to get out of that club. Does that sound like something that you want to do?
Yes.
How many of you have it today? How many of you could have it today? All of us could have it today, right? There's an opportunity for all of us to grow like that. So the Moments of Truth is a program that Toastmasters creates to help enhance all those touch points and all those opportunities that we have within Toastmasters to build membership. And it starts from when someone first walks in, their first impression, and it takes them through all those touch points to how to get to the very end. And it's a nice program. It's a thoughtful program. But is it a real program? Is it really what happens? Or should we really have the moments of real truth out there and talk about what really happens when we walk in and how we move throughout that process and how we create a culture and a club that doesn't just engage people, but does something particularly well to help them. That's where I think Toastmasters should go. Now, Fort Wayne's changed a little bit, hasn't it? In the past 10 years, how many of you can say that you know something different in Fort Wayne today than what you saw 10 years ago?
Well, tin caps.
Everybody, right? The number one thing I hear when I go out and meet people is, man, you're lucky you weren't here 5 years ago. It's so much cooler now. When did I-69 get built? To kind of do the wrap around of the city.
Oh, 469? Oh, God, that's been
It's been
around.
10 years.
It's been a while?
Yeah. it's
When
been a
did
while.
downtown get revitalized?
That's been
Ongoing.
It's
Yeah.
ongoing, but it's more recent.
Yeah.
How many of you know of something that is better today in Fort Wayne, is different today in Fort Wayne than what it was 20 years ago? How many of you think you know something that is better in Fort Wayne today than what it was 5 years ago? How many of you are just happy that Fort Wayne is still existing? I have to say, Fort Wayne is a cool city. Like, I came from Orlando. You were just at Disney. It is not easy to get anywhere in Orlando.
No.
No, we don't use turn signals because we can't go fast enough to turn. Like, yes, they're optional on Florida cars also. We don't believe in telling you if you're going left or right because, well, that's doesn't need to know basis.
That's the truth.
Fort Wayne is the most polite, warmest, welcoming town that I've ever experienced since I left Pittsburgh. It's fantastic. So if it's different, let me ask you this. How is your club experience different today than what it was 10 years ago? Do you do the same things today than what you did 5 years ago?
No.
I have to say that as I visited clubs, I don't know if that's going to be the answer you really get. There's a lot of similarities between what we do now and what we did then. There's a lot of tradition here, isn't there? How many of you know of a club named after a dude?
And we changed that.
No, maybe not in a club. How many of you know of a club named after a dude?
Oh, of a club.
Of a club.
yeah.
No, of a club named after a
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
How many of you know of a club named after a woman?
Oh.
Well, Vera Bradley.
That's a company.
But
It's a company.
Vera Bradley,
It's a
yeah,
company.
not named for.
Not four.
Well, she wasn't a member.
How many, what's the percentage breakdown of female members to male members in Toastmasters? 51-49, females over males. There's no clubs named after females in Fort Wayne, but there's at least 3 named after dudes. How many of those dudes are still alive? Outside of Dave Fricke, how many of you know those dudes? A couple, right? And how many of you know the same things happened in your club today as what happened when Smokey was alive? As what happened when
Lyman
Lyman was
Lyman.
alive? Some of the same things we do, we've carried on, haven't we? Right? Has Fort Wayne changed? Has the demographics in Fort Wayne changed over the years?
Yes, much.
Do you think the next generation of Toastmasters wants the exact same thing their grandparents wanted?
No.
Their parents wanted? Do you think we're giving them the same thing as what our parents and their parents and grandparents had?
Unless we're changing.
How many of you went to Thanksgiving dinner this year? Did any of you realize that the next generation was on their phones and tablets more than they were having conversations? How?
Some generation on our phone.
Yeah, some of us did the same thing.
It's mad at
That's
us.
fine, yeah. That's absolutely true. But it's different, right?
Yeah.
The next generation wants something different than what we wanted, and we wanted something different than what our parents wanted, and you wanted something different than what your parents wanted, and every generation wants to take a step beyond what their parents had, correct? Is there any generation that's come along that said, man, I hope I do worse than my parents did? It's not a thing, right? But have we necessarily evolved? So look at your clubs. I want you to look at your clubs for a second in your minds and think, who are you missing? Who are you missing? We have Toastmasters that have been around for, Dave, how long have you been a Toastmaster? 35 years, did you say?
Who? Not me.
Me, just a little over 30.
Little over 30 years. Little over 30 years.
How about you, Doc?
Doc, how long have you been a Toastmaster?
It was around 2001.
2001, okay. How many of you are in like the 20-year range of Toastmasters? 15 to 20 years of Toastmasters? How many of you know your clubs are who's been there for 2 years, and who's been there for 10 years. Where did that middle generation go?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
It's like Waldo, they're on a mud cart somewhere. Like, where did they go? Where are they? Did they exist at some point?
Yeah.
Did we lose them at some point? Where are they now in their careers?
Hmm.
The ones that should be moving up in their careers are the ones that left. LinkedIn says the number one thing that employers are looking for is the ability to communicate. Communicate verbally, communicate in writing, communicate to groups. We should be out there helping that generation that for whatever reason walked away from us. We should be the ones out there saying, we want to help your career go to the next level. We are that missing link in someone's career, in someone's life out there. Now, we've heard from Adrienne this morning that she was stuck behind a computer screen and wanted to talk to people. Do you think she is a better communicator today because of Toastmasters than if she hadn't been at Toastmasters?
Yeah.
How about the rest of us? Has it impacted our ability to talk?
Yes. Yes.
So I have a confession. When I was a kid, I had a horrible stutter. I couldn't say the word downstairs. I couldn't say it at all. My parents thought it was hysterical. So when I would say downstairs, I sounded kind of like a repeating typewriter. It's da down 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 da da down 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 da da down 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 da da down 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 da da down 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 stairs. In Morse code, I ordered a yak. But where do you think my parents wanted me to talk about going all the time?
Out there.
Because it was funny to them. I kept that stutter out of college. When I first started doing presentations and had to say the word downstairs, because I worked in a department store on the second floor as an HR director, how well do you think I did?
Lower level.
Everyone, exact level 1. I just numbered them on level 1, on level 2. Well, where is that? It's below us. On the escalator. But I was awful. How many of you can think of a time in your life that you had something similar to that?
Yes.
Do you know somebody else out there that could benefit from what we do because of that?
Yes.
How do we help them? How do we reach them? Now, is formality the same thing as structure? Anybody out there have a formal club that talks about Robert's Rules?
About what?
Robert's Rules of Order?
No.
Serena's got the blank.
How many of you have clubs that approve minutes? How many of you have clubs that put motions forward to accept if we're going to have the minutes approved for that day, if we're going to have speeches? If you vote on whether or not to have a meeting on Christmas Day, how many of you have that sense of formality in your club? I've been to those clubs because I've been to almost all of the Fort Wayne clubs, and I was at a club that actually entertained motions about whether or not to cancel the meeting on Christmas Day and New Year's Day. Outside of the government, who needs to have that much formality in their life? If the building's not open, you probably don't need to vote whether or not to meet, right? Formality is different than structure. Those are formal clubs that have very formal ways of working, and is it wrong? No, not at all. But is it a structured meeting? How many of you have a process in place that you have schedules done a month in advance? How many of you have a process done that members can go online and
Yes.
schedule a role a month in advance?
Yeah.
Anybody use Easy Speak? How many people knew what Free Toast Host was? There are ways to do schedules that you shouldn't be at a meeting saying, okay, well, let's see here. We had 4 people not show up. Who has a pocket speech? Who wants to be evaluator 2? Anybody have a word of the day we can use today? Have you heard those words spoken at any one of your meetings in the last month?
Oh, yes.
Is that structure to be able to have a process in place so it doesn't happen? Or is it formality? The generation behind ours do you think they like formality?
No.
Absolutely.
What's going to happen when our generation takes their last exit through a door at Toastmasters? Do you think that generation behind us is going to be there right now to fill in the gaps? Or are they sitting there saying, I don't know what these people are doing, but my boss says I have to come here? There's a difference between the two. Can you have formality and structure? Absolutely. You can have one or the other. They're not independent. They're not dependent upon each other to have. But just because you have one doesn't mean you have both. If you want to be a formal club, fantastic. There is absolutely a place here for formal clubs and formality. But it should also have structure. Your first impression when you have a guest walk in and they're asked to be an evaluator, do you think that gives them the opportunity to say, this is a really good club? No. You're a visitor. Why are you being asked to be an evaluator? An evaluator. Nobody caught on to that, did they? Not a speaker, to be an evaluator. Now, I was a visiting Toastmaster, and I said that up front. So when I walked into a club on a Friday morning in a building that's not far away from here, and an evaluator didn't show up, it wasn't a stretch to say, hey, can you be an evaluator? And I said, sure, I'd be more than happy to evaluate because I've done it before. And then I did that, and what do you think the response was after I stopped my evaluation?
You got it before.
Oh, snap, what was that? That's not what we do. It was different. But there are other members that are there, other guests that are there, like, oh, I don't want to go because I don't want to be asked to do something like that. I'm scared of that. I'm here because I'm afraid to speak in public, and you're going to ask me if I want to do a role? I don't know what the roles are. Structural formality are different. Yes, Adrian.
I was just going to point out my experience from what happened at Vera Bradley, like really showcases what you just said. When we started the club, it was all done under the standard Toastmasters structure.
Yep.
And after, I can't remember how many months we'd gone through, and the club officers met and said, we'd like to relax some of the formality because it doesn't fit with the culture of our company. So we're not gonna shake hands because that just doesn't fit with what we do. If we're attending meetings, you don't have people up there shaking hands. They don't address people by their title. They address them by their name. If you're attending a meeting with the director of marketing, you don't say thank you, director of marketing. You say thank you, Fred.
Yep.
So
Congratulations, you just got promoted.
Yeah. And I thought it was an excellent exercise for them to think out of the box to say, we want to make this club fit better with our culture and to be more welcoming to visitors, to relax some of that formality. And I think you've done it a couple of times since the club started. And I thought it was a great way to
Absolutely.
make that club and Toastmasters fit with the company.
Perfect, absolutely perfect. It's a great example. Because you never get a second chance to make a first impression, do you? But you always get a chance to make a lasting impression. You always get a chance to make a lasting impression. Now, for a lot of you, this is your first impression of me. And some of you are going to walk away going, what a jerk. And others are going to walk away going, wow, he has some ideas. And that first impression I'll never get back, but I hope over time you'll know that my goal as a Toastmaster is based on 4 words. How can I help? Period. That's why I'm a Toastmaster. How can I help? And I left that. That was my backyard in Florida. That's still the house that I own in Florida. I'm not there right now. But I'm here. So who do you think I want to help the most? You. I want to help all of you to become the best Toastmasters you can possibly be and have the best experiences you can have so that your people can have the best experiences that you have. How many of you know who Simon Sinek is?
Oh, yeah.
He talks about the why. He talks about everybody in the world pretty much knows what they do. A few lucky people know how they do it, and a very small percentage can articulate why they do it. So what do? We are Toastmasters. We toast as masters. How do we do it? we have a different club experience everywhere, correct?
Yeah.
And that works for us. Why did you pick the club you picked? Why do you keep picking the club that you pick? Why? What's your why? How many of you can articulate your why? I want to create a culture where we learn by having fun, so together we can help everyone grow and take a step forward. That's the why of the articulators. That was my why. That's still their why. What's your why?
Could you say that again?
I want to create a club that learns by having fun, so that together we can help everyone grow and take a step further. That's my why. What's your why? When a visitor walks in and they say, why should I join this club? Well, we meet when you're available. Well, we're nice. How many of you would like to be able to just say why you are a Toastmaster, why that club matters, and how that's going to help them? Do you think that will change the experience for a Toastmaster, for a visitor, for a guest, for a member, for a community? Do you think that'll change just a little bit?
Yeah.
It's a hard exercise, but it makes it worthwhile. Toastmasters is supposed to be the lamplighters of the world, and I had a really good friend, his name was Carl Reiter, and he was one of the last area governors, not of the areas as we know them today, but when Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and I think South Carolina were an area, he was one of the last area governors for that big of an area.
Wow.
He joined Toastmasters in 1969, and when he passed away from pancreatic cancer, I was president of this club. And one of the things that he taught me, he recruited me to that club. One of the things he said is, we as Toastmasters say that it's where leaders are made. But where leaders are made implies that we're going to get a name tag saying we're a leader. Lamplighters show where you've been and allow others to see a path that they can follow. Because Toastmasters isn't where leaders are made, it's where leaders learn to lead. And you can always see where a lamplighter has been because in the distance the torches are lit. The flame of possibility has been lit. And you can also see where a lamplighter has gone the next morning, where they've extinguished those flames of possibility, when they've darkened the hope. What kind of Toastmaster are you going to be? One that lights the flame of possibility, or one that extinguishes somebody else's? So I ask you, in your clubs, what are you? What's your club today? What can your club be tomorrow? It's a different experience, isn't it? Now, every club has stories and artifacts, don't you? What are some of the best stories that you hear about Toastmasters, about the story that happened within Toastmasters, within your club? How many of you know of a story that you share that talks about who your club is? Dave, you just did a whole interview segment on Smokey, right? Were those good stories about Smokey? Good stories about why your club exists? Yeah. How many else out there have a story about why your club exists? Didn't we hear a story this morning about a club that was down to one sole member
Yeah.
who put their foot down and said, no, we are not folding. And picked the club up and was a lamplighter to show the way. Is that not a story to tell?
Yes.
What are the stories that showcase the culture of your club? Because every culture is made up of two distinct things. The stories you tell and the artifacts you show. And the stories you tell are those reasons. They're the why behind what you're doing. They're what draw people in to help understand who you are. And those artifacts that you show are those tangible things that you have that bring those stories to life. They're the rooms you meet in, they're the trophies you carry, they're the agendas you use. It's the format, those tangible things. How many clubs have a bell? Have a bell for uhs and ums? It's not very common here, is it? No. But there's a lot of clubs I came in Florida, we all had the little waiter's bell, and whenever there was an R, there was a ding.
Oh, no.
And every time someone dinged, an angel got their wings. And we paid 10 cents.
Yes.
It was one of the stories that we told. The fact that we are standing here holding trophies, do you think those are artifacts that we showed about how we became the club of evaluations because we wanted to invest in others to help them grow? Do you think that became part of who we were? Our club believed in it so much that a bunch of us branched off and formed the Advanced Club in Northern Orlando. And every year, we hold what we call a tournament that's the Champion of Champions. It's all the past table topics, first and second place winners.
Oh.
It's all the past evaluation, first and second place winners, and they go head to head.
How fun.
And we have a trophy that we engrave people's names on, the winner of the Tournament of Champions.
Wow.
It's both a story and an artifact, and who do you think carries that trophy around with them? The winner. So when they go and they put that trophy on their club's mantle, whatever that mantle is, they're saying, this is what this club did for me. Here's the story, here's the artifact. Now we should all go to ACE, Advanced Communicators and Educators, or here, Advanced Speakers and Leaders, because that's what it does. It's a story and an artifact. How many of you have artifacts that you want to showcase because it's something great that you've done, that you know that you can reach out? You have them in your grasp. They're there. All you have to do is reach out and figure out what are the artifacts that bring the right stories to life. What are the right stories? That's up to you. But I urge you, figure out what those right stories are so that in the future, you don't realize your club's not on solid footing. Anybody watch Wile E. Coyote when you were a kid?
Yes.
Every week, he ran right off the edge of a cliff, kept running, and then he looked down, uh-oh, and he fell. We're missing a generation, aren't we?
Yeah.
What happens? What happens if we lose the founding fathers and sisters of our clubs? What happens if the traditionalists, if the folks that have been around for 20, 30 years, 15 years, what happens if they walk through the door for the last time for one reason or another? What if they move to Orlando? I have a house you can rent if you want to go.
Find somebody who
Really
wants
nice
to
view.
maintain the suit.
Are you on solid footing so that your club is going to exist and prosper after you're gone? How many of you think that as you run off that cliff, all that you're going to do is have to duck from the anvil that's about to hit you in the head? But do we have time to be able to create a plan, to be able to create the things that we need to be able to do something better in the future? Yeah. Because we can't go back and fix yesterday, but we can fix tomorrow. So the opportunity isn't for us to just fall off a cliff, but create those wow moments. Because we have the opportunity to engage all of our visitors, all of our members, and the community in a way that they walk away, they say, wow, that was amazing. How many of you have gone to a conference before? When you went to a conference, didn't you walk away from your first conference saying, wow,
Yeah.
that was great? How many of you walked away from a meeting before saying, wow, that was the best table topics, the best evaluation, the best speech, the best something. I loved it. Can we not create those wow moments in every single meeting for someone to walk away saying, wow?
Yeah.
It's about the experience, isn't it? It's not about the structure and the formality, it's about the experience. And if that structure and that formality don't create wow moments, but instead usher Ben Stein through the door, class, class. Have you been to a meeting that's the introduction to the meeting? Thank you for coming to Toastmasters today. I'm very happy you're here. Couldn't be more excited to be the Toastmaster today. So today what we're going to do is we're going to wow you. Are you excited now? Have you heard that from an opening Toastmaster, an opening segment in a meeting? I've been to 12 of the 13 clubs. I have heard that. I'm a Toastmaster and it's okay. But how many of you have guests that have been there that day and went, oh, huh. How do you wow someone? I'll be the first to admit, the first time I went to Summit City, he wowed me. The energy, the passion, the articulation. Jeff knew why the club existed. He didn't necessarily know he was explaining it to me in those words, but he could articulate why I should join Summit City. It's because I had money and I was a Toastmaster and they needed members. That was not
I
it at all.
wasn't at that meeting.
That was not it at all.
That's good. That was good.
That was not it at all. What he showed me is this is a group of people like the ones you're leaving that we care about each other. We're going to help develop. And if you come here and join us, we are going to invest in you if you invest in us. What do you say? You in? And I was like, number one on my list. Let's go check out some other clubs. And I went and checked out some other clubs and had to make some choices, and I joined. Largely because he wowed me. Who are you wowing every day at your meeting? Are you wowing anyone? How many of you have joined Pathways? How many of you know some of your club is like, Pathways is scary? That first one, they were like, yeah, I joined. I don't want to admit that I know someone like that. I'll be very stealthy up here. Pathways is a change for us, isn't it? When was the last time Toastmasters changed the educational system? Probably about the same time bell bottoms came in the first time, right? It's been a long time, and it's scary for people. We have to be the role models for people to follow. We have to be the artifacts that someone says, if they can do it, I can do it. Because the next generation, do you think they want manuals or tablets?
Yeah.
Tablets.
Yeah.
And maybe someday Toastmasters will make Pathways work on a tablet and a phone. But we're getting there. We're into the 20th century with them. We have to be the ones that share the example. We have to be the ones that help someone level up. When I was a kid, I played Pong. Remember Pong?
Yes.
Wasn't it the best video game ever created?
Time.
So we said in 1978. But what couldn't you do at the end of a Pong game? Level up. You played Pong, that was it. And if you were really good, you played tennis.
Yeah.
That was it. But every video game now, at the end of a level, you celebrate, you climb a ladder, you save a princess, you get a gold nugget of some sort, and you go on to the next level, right? And now they make millions of dollars by leveling up. Is it time for you to help your members level up? Is it time for you to create an atmosphere that you can help new guests level up to be somebody better than who they were today? That's what we can do. That's the truth behind who we are.
Fun.
Fun. Come on. You can do it. So come on, Mustard. Catch up. We can create a better Toastmasters. And change will be different. Change will be hard. It's not linear. We don't get from here to there without winning and losing and winning and losing and winning and losing. We're going to stumble. We're going to fall. We're going to get hurt. But where's the one place we can learn how to get hurt and fail and it not impact our lives and our careers?
Toastmasters.
Toastmasters! If we mess up here, does it hurt us out there?
No.
No. How many of you joined Toastmasters to be a better Toastmaster?
Right.
Be a
Wait.
better person, a better person.
How many of you joined Toastmasters to do something better out there?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. But we have this little laboratory that we can mess up magnificently here. And what do we do from it? Learn.
Learn.
That's all we have to do is learn from it. Embrace the suck, because it's gonna suck. But at the end of the journey, we're gonna be better from where we were before. It's okay if we don't have all the answers, if we mess up, if we have to do something out of our comfort zone, because that's the only place where somebody grows, is when they're uncomfortable. Everything, whether it's a tree or a person or an animal, grows only during times of discomfort. I'm in Florida, we have snakes that shed their skin all the time, and that's when they grow. I'm not saying you're snakes, but I'm saying you probably need to shed your skin. How do you get uncomfortable with the comfortable? These are moments of real truth. Look at your club. What are you really doing today that maybe it's just comfortable, but you're not doing the things that you should be doing for the future? What are the things where you're stuck? Anybody know Pareto, the Pareto principle?
Yes.
80% of your results are done with 20% of the efforts, right? It's about focus, isn't it? What if you took that 20% and you focused it on the next 20%, and then focused that 20% on a lower 20%, and on a lower 20%, until you had one thing that you could do differently tomorrow than you do today. One thing. And then you get that one thing right, and maybe all of a sudden walking into your club is no longer a deja vu of what happened before, but a vujade of what tomorrow can be. Because how many walk into a club today and say, wow, this seems really familiar? You do the same things on a regular basis. It's okay to be scared and to move forward. It's gonna suck. But if you align what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how you communicate it, all of your members and your guests will come along with you. And you will know that maybe Vera Bradley isn't the club for electing and for handshakes and for a flag, because they don't do that anywhere else. But they know who they're going to be because they know why they're there, and they can align what they do with what they say and who they are. And that alignment is where energy is transferred. Anybody have a Newton's cradle when you were a kid? Those little balls?
Oh.
Boop, boop. What's the one thing that slows those balls down? Friction. Get rid of the friction. Keep that energy transferring, and you'll be better tomorrow than you were today. This is the most, Fort Wayne, I think, is as warm inside as what the temperature is cold outside. You are a very warm and welcoming group. But it's time to figure out where you are now, where you need to be, and what you need to do to bridge that gap. There's a huge opportunity here. This is a growing city. How many people are moving to Fort Wayne that you talk to in your neighborhoods? When you drive around, you see new communities being developed. You see the housing prices going up because people are moving in and snapping up all the houses. Is Fort Wayne growing or shrinking? That was the least enthusiastic growing I've ever heard. Is it growing or shrinking?
Growing.
It's growing, so why aren't we? How many clubs out there have meetings where you have 4 people? How many clubs out there have meetings with 4 people, 6 people, 8 people? When you have this growing community and you are the best kept secret in town,
Yeah.
that you have the opportunity to get out there and say, we can help. Let us be your social safety net. Let us be the place to help show you around. Because who do you think I'm relying on to help figure out where stuff is in Fort Wayne?
Toastmasters.
Toastmasters and wigs. But between those two, it's important. You're a treasure, and it's time to open up that treasure box and enhance that treasure. You have the opportunity every week to dig for that buried treasure and become a little bit better today than tomorrow. You have that opportunity. So how do you measure up? Is your club meeting the potential it has? Or are you being restricted by what you were? Now there are clubs out there that are perfectly happy and content to be what they are today. And I say to you, congratulations, that's fine. But there are other clubs out there that know they can be bigger, they can be better, they can do more. We talked to advanced leaders and speakers the last meeting about how do we become big, how do we grow and get the message out there. Summit City's talking about the same thing. All of us, in some way or another, want to have new experiences. We're in the perfect place to do that. As we go forward, we have 2 choices. You can either drive forward and look ahead, or you can drive by trying to look in the rearview mirror. And if you've ever driven anywhere, you know that the more you concentrate on where you were, the better chance you have on hitting what's in front of you. This isn't a bird box challenge. It's Toastmasters. So let us help. Let me help. Ask for help. It's okay. We're here to help. And with that, I say thank you. And what can I answer for you? Yes.
Did you ever go back and shake you guys' hand?
Yes. Yeah, there was a picture of me. I had to take the trophy. I couldn't go up there and not take the trophy. It was like the troll hoarding the trophy. I had to, shake the hand and, unlock the magic power and release the trophy. So yes, I felt bad for Bob. I apologize to him.
I've heard about the numbers in their clubs from Florida. Can you talk a little bit about those numbers, because they're amazing?
Okay,
And then maybe just a little something about the keys to
okay.
getting this one.
So there's a couple, so Florida clubs are bigger. I can't sugarcoat that, they're way bigger. We have a philosophy in District 84 that whenever a club hits 20, that's when we say that club is at risk of not being a good club, and we throw all of our resources towards that club to keep them above 20 members. 20 is the floor that we allow clubs to get to. How many clubs here have 20 members? 2. I know one, and maybe there's a second one now. Not many, right?
Right.
That's our floor is 20 members. Now, my friend Carl, who recruited me, the lamplighter guy, he recruited me to go be president of Winter Park Toastmasters because he saw something bigger in me that he thought I could do more than what I was doing. How many members do you think Winter Park had when I was president? You can't answer this because you know the answer.
20.
74. They're up to 82. It's a leadership conference every Friday morning at 7:30.
Oh my gosh.
They get 48 to 55 people at every single meeting. And we charge $7 at the door for every single head that walks through those doors.
I was gonna say, how does anybody get anything done, a speech or?
It is basically the National Speakers Association of Orlando, because there's no official Orlando National Speakers Association chapter. The closest one's in Tampa. So they've all come together at Winter Park Toastmasters, and it's a community of public speakers, of professional presenters, that you're gathered around other people trying to do the same things you are, and maybe you don't go and present, but you invest in the club and you invest in others. Because we learn more ourselves when we help somebody else learn more.
Exactly.
Teaching is the great catalyst for growth. That was the biggest club that I was at. They're not the biggest club in Orlando. Blue Cross Blue Shield has 164 members. So do you think that the tables are kind of loaded when you do the notable 9? And they pay for all their members too. It's a Blue Cross Blue Shield. It's a corporate club. It's closed, but they pay for everybody.
Sure.
And they have 4 meeting times every week, so people can go. There are huge clubs there. But I was in an area, so there were about I did the math, there's about 186 or so Toastmasters in Fort Wayne, right around there. We had 120 something in my area in Orlando.
Wow.
I had, where our club was located in Altamont Springs, if you go up and down Route 436 by 5 miles and go 3 miles either way, we had, I think, 29 clubs in that one little area. It's one of the most densely populated Toastmasters club populations anywhere in the world. And what's the floor we have for membership? 20. 29 clubs, 20 members, and it basically fits into Roanoke. So there's a different experience, and I'm not going to say I have all the answers. I've seen some different stuff because I've been around in some different clubs. I was an assistant director a couple of times for area and for division when I was in Orlando. I was an assistant division director when I was in 47 in Fort Lauderdale. So I've seen some stuff out there. There's different experiences. You can build stuff from the ground. It doesn't mean that who we are today has to be who we are tomorrow. I believe that Fort Wayne, I believe this in all my soul, that the people of Fort Wayne can create an atmosphere and can come together in a way that this become one of the most vibrant Toastmasters areas in all of Toastmasters. You all are absolutely amazingly warm and welcoming. That's what a Toastmaster does, isn't it?
Yes.
We're a pretty welcoming group. So we can be somebody different. It's okay to be somebody different. We just have to let go a little bit of who we were to become who we're going to be. What else? Any other questions I can answer for you?
What do you think we need to do to get the younger people to come into clubs, to
Text them?
entice them, bring
I
the
think
cell
the-
phones?
I think the first thing that every club needs to do is figure out their why.
Okay.
Because if you draw people in your club and you can't articulate why they should be there,
Okay.
then all you're doing is just getting visitors.
Right, exactly.
You're making a couple friends.
Mhm.
But if you can create the why, so you can talk about why does the Advanced Club exist? Why does Summit exist? Why does Smokey exist? Why does Anthony Wayne exist? The why behind it, and all of you have a very different value proposition for what you provide, and that's awesome because every person is different. Figure out the why first, and then use the technology. Don't be the one person that is on Meetup RSVPing to say you're going to come to that meetup. That was me. We talked about that during Jeff's session. I found a lot of the clubs on Meetup, and when I RSVP'd, it was me and the organizer. We don't track attendance through Meetup. Just
No.
go on there and RSVP to meetings, so when people see it, they're like, hey, there's 7 people going. I'm not gonna be by myself. Because who's gonna make a drive to go to a meeting by themselves? You could do that at home, right? So start with the why. Figure out the why first, then we can talk about how we attract the people that want our why. And it's gonna be different for everybody.
Talk a little bit about your focus was evaluations.
Yep.
Can you just give us a few key points on evaluations?
Evaluations are never about the evaluator. They're always about how do you help that person not just improve that speech that day, but how do you help them have the confidence and the energy to go back and do that speech again now. That they would want to get up and do that speech again because they know that you're fully invested in them. The evaluation process itself, you have the sandwich method, there's a couple of different things that are out there, and technically it's all very similar. But if you keep in your mind, every time you're in front of a group of people, you have the opportunity to help somebody out. And if you're afraid to give an evaluation, remember this, it's never about you, it's always about them. And if your focus is always on how can I help you, then you yourself free your mind up to not be worried about a trophy, am I giving something that I'm proud of, but rather how do I help you become better? What are the things that I heard, that I saw, that I felt, that made your presentation stand out? And what are those things that we want to try to work on for the future? And then give them specifics. Don't just say, well, I wanted you to do this. Show them. Because some people learn through touch, some people learn through sight, some people learn through sound. Vary that up a little bit, but every time you give an evaluation, know that what you're doing is you are giving the greatest gift you can ever give to somebody else. That's the gift of your time. Your time, your effort, your energy. And you focus on that, evaluations become magic. Well, all, thank you very much. I am so sorry that I went long. I greatly appreciate all the time, and I look forward to seeing you all around Toastmasters, not just on Toastmasters Saturday. We have Toastmasters Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I hope you all have a great time. If you need anything, reach out. I'm more than happy to answer. I'm more than happy to come visit. I'm more than happy to come help any way I can. I'm still trying to build a business here after moving here, so I'm going to have a little bit of spare time in the next few months while I'm trying to figure that out. And I'll see you around. So thanks.